Hi, and welcome to another Literacy Ready training refresher. This training refresher focuses on the English Unit 1, Lesson 1, and particularly focuses on introducing students to the reading log. Throughout their work in this unit, students will be keeping a reading log. The purpose of the reading log is to help students develop reading endurance and to help students learn and practice a lot of skills, including summarizing, recognizing the patterns in texts, and developing connections among argument, claims, and evidence. In this particular part of Lesson 1, students are getting an introduction to the reading log. So they're doing that with a good bit of support from their peers and from their teacher. Prior to beginning to work on the reading log, you and your students have done quite a bit of work already. You've completed a survey about students' reading habits and talked together about the results. You've examined some information about this course and about disciplinary literacy in English. And together you've read the opening paragraphs of Carr's prologue and developed class-wide definitions for the terms net enthusiast and net skeptic. So here is the reading log that students are going to be completing in this lesson. So you'll notice that the directions ask them only to read the prologue, pages 1 through 4. So they're reading a short bit of text. This is just an introductory piece to get them used to the reading log. As students read, they should take notes using the chart and be sure to include page numbers and cite the text. So let's just read through what the prompt is asking them to do. It says, in the prologue, Carr argues that we have been so dazzled by new communication technologies and the access they provide that we have neglected to see some potential negative effects they may have on us. In the space below, write down the possible negative effects that Carr mentions, including page numbers. In order to help your students be successful with this reading log, you might want to begin by modeling a sample with them. So here I've pulled from the text on page 3 where Carr says, it changes who we are as individuals and as a society. So note that I've written a quote from the text. I've got the author's last name and the page number to provide a citation. You might also want to encourage students to add a little commentary about that. So here I've added a sentence just interpreting what Carr is saying. Carr is saying that the internet is changing us both individually and socially. Now, is that a negative effect? Some would see it as negative. Some of your students may not see that as negative, so they may find some other things that Carr brings up. So we've already talked a little bit about modeling for students using a possible quote from Carr. I'm sure that as you look at the first 4 pages of the prologue, you'll be able to see other examples of quotes that could be used here. In addition, while students are working on this, if it's helpful, you might want to just roam around the room, look on, ask them, encourage them to write that little extra sentence explaining what the quote means. Maybe if a student is really struggling, asking him or her to work with a partner, that kind of thing. When students have completed their work with the reading log, then the next step is to get them to work with a partner, to share what they've written and compare what they've written to their partner's work, and then to carry out a self-evaluation with the evaluation tool for the reading log. Okay, here is the evaluation tool for the reading log. It's going to be the same for every time students do a reading log, and it's pretty simple. It's basically saying, does the reading log show that the student has read the material? Does it include textual evidence? And does the student use the completed reading log to support classroom dialogue? So in this self-evaluation, you may ask students to just look at the first 2 elements here. So can I tell from what you've written that you've read the assigned material? Did you include textual evidence? I would hope they did, since that was the direction. But students can use this to sort of see how they're going to be evaluated on the reading log and to see if they need to modify their approach. Another thing that you might want to stress with students as you're reviewing this, the evaluation tool for the reading log, is that the purpose of the reading log is really to develop detailed note-taking strategies that will be helpful to them when they go to college, where they're going to have to read large amounts of text and to take notes on it. So that's always going to be a key part of what we're doing in this course. And in addition, their reading logs will be of help to them later as they write the synthesis essay, because they'll be able to use the information from their reading logs to help them with material. Once the students have completed writing this first reading log and evaluating their own, comparing to their partners, then you're going to lead a whole class discussion. So the discussion is focused on, based on what you have read so far, the first 4 pages of the prologue, what do you expect Carr's argument to be? And then what evidence do you have to support your position? This is a key opportunity to really, again, focus in on what's the argument he seems to be advancing, and then what evidence do you see that allows you to believe that that's his argument. So here students can use the evidence that they've pulled from their reading logs. They can go back into the text. And again, it's really important in this whole class discussion that you continue to ask them, where in the text do you see that? What evidence do you have to support your position? So at this point, you're not going to be assessing the reading log. Students have done a self-assessment, but it is going to be pretty important to provide students with feedback, lots of feedback up front. So our recommendation is that you do take up and assess the reading logs frequently, but maybe stagger them a bit, like take a third of the class up and then the next third and the next third. And I would recommend that you take a look at this first attempt at a reading log that these students have done, not to grade it, but just to provide feedback. For example, if students are providing quotes but no citations, they need to get in the habit of providing the citation. Not only because it's correct, but also so that they can find it later when they need it. And it may be that students are struggling with finding good evidence, and so that's another piece of feedback that you might provide for them. So that's the introduction to the reading log. As I said, the students are going to be doing reading logs periodically on each chapter of the central text in this unit. And so it's pretty important that students get comfortable with this technique of taking notes. The reading logs that will come will provide different formats for those notes to be taken in, but all of them really focus in on the argument and the evidence and picking out that evidence, and in some cases evaluating it. So this is a great opportunity to make sure that students have a solid foundation in the reading log in order to be successful in the unit.